This video is intended to show you the basic usage of the ACH 3.0 utility. This video assumes that you've already set up vendors and banks and you've done your basic email setup and so forth, and we're going to focus entirely on the process after that. So starting with vendor payments and moving on from there. So in the vendor payments tab, you'll notice that we have listed all the posted AP invoices for any vendor that you set up as an ACH vendor here. You won't see AP invoices for non-ACH vendors. It's just going to be those vendors that you have set up as an ACH. This top row here is used for a filter. If I wanted to filter, for example, the Chicago heat, I would just type this and it would automatically filter for you. A lot of people filter by due date. Sometimes they want to see everything that's due prior to today. If you do, you could do that. You could hit the operator and do is less than and then select the current date. And that would show us everything that's due before then. I can clear this by just saying clear it. But that's the basic use of the filter row. This is your best option for filtering that row here. It also operates a lot like Excel. If I click this vendor, it'll sort it by vendor. So just use it in that way. But really what you're doing is trying to filter down and find the invoices that you want to pay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a couple of invoices I want to pay. We'll select this one and this one, and let's go down and get another one. There's some Chicago heat right there. Let's do these two, and let's do this Midwest Flame. We'll do a couple of those, and finally one from, let's see, US vendor. Okay, once we've selected all the items that we want to pay, we can create a payment report if you want to. This is not required. Some people use this to get authorization for payments or whatnot, but essentially this just lists all those items we just selected. Okay, you can print this out, you can export it to PDF, whatever you want to do with it. We can also save this as a batch. The batch is useful if you need to refer back to this selections that you've made. If I want to do that, I'll just tell it to add a batch. I might name it payment 2024 0215, and I'm going to add a 1 to that because I've already added a batch for today, so I can just save that. And all it really does is save those as a group. Doesn't have anything to do with the payments or anything like that. I can always, move things in and out of there if need be. You'll see this is our payment batch right there. That's one we just selected right down there. But once I'm ready to create my vendor payments, what I do then is select my payment date. And I've selected 5/31/2022 because that's my AP is well out of date. I'm going to select the bank I'm going to use, and then I'm ready to make payments. There's some other options here that typically you're not going to use. You could use the same check number for all your ACH payments. You could tell it to always take a discount regardless of whether the discount date is passed. You could also tell it to create an ACH immediately. That's not something I would recommend you do until you're familiar with the process though, okay? It's also important to note this is the only process in the ACH utility that actually modifies or adds data in JobBoss. Everything else just pulls information from JobBoss, but this is actually going to create AP checks. It's just like you went into JobBoss in that AP check register, selected these invoices and printed out physical paper checks, except we're just not going to print the checks. So once I'm ready to create my payments, I can click either here or here to create those payments. It'll churn away for a moment, and then it'll tell me they've been created. Once we refresh, you'll notice all the check marks are gone because those invoices are now paid, and they would no longer show up on this in this screen. Once we're finished with vendor payments, it's time to go over to ACH processing. Now, this is where we actually create the document that we want to see. We want to send to the bank, okay? Now, these are the documents we just created right here. There were 4 of them, starting with numbers 055, 056, 057, and 058. These are what we're going to select to actually create our ACH document and send it to the bank. So from here, what we do is, again, you got a filter row here if you need it. You can also, again, do the different things, different filtering mechanisms if you need to. But what we're going to do is we're going to select the ones we just created. That's these 4 right here. Okay, and then I'm going to tell it what date I want the bank to process this. This is the ACH date. This is the most important date in the entire process. So right now I'm telling it I want to do it 10 days from now, so 2/26. I could also tell it I want to do it on Monday if I wanted to. I'm going to select the US bank. You'll see it's already selected that for me. And once I'm ready to create that, I'm going to tell it to create my ACH document. So once I create my ACH document, what's going to happen is it's going to create a text file that we're going to use to send to the bank. So I can click either here or here. It'll create my document. Now if you want to see what it looks like, you can click this little link right here. Let me drag this over. And that's the document that is created. This is what you're going to actually send to the bank. Okay. I'm going to tell it just okay. We also told it to create a remittance report. A lot of people will create this and use this to as kind of a reconciliation tool. This is broken by vendor. So here we've got 2 vendors for American Industries, or 2 invoices for American Industries, 2 invoices for Chicago Heat Treating, and so forth and so on. Okay. You can use this. You can print it out again. You can export it to PDF or do whatever you need to do with it. And again, you don't have to use the remittance report. It's fine. And finally, now once I send this to the bank, the last step in the process would be to send out vendor emails. So once I've transferred my file up to the bank, I would come back in here, and again, I could also create a batch here. I could add this as a batch. I could say ACH 2024 0215, or sorry, 16. Save this, and it'll appear down here. So if I ever needed to go back there, these all 4 would automatically pull up, and then I can just send out my vendor emails. Notice these all 4 are selected. I'm just going to tell it to send vendor emails, and it'll churn away for a minute, and it'll send out emails for all of my vendors. And that's it. You're pretty well done with the ACH process. That's the short and sweet version of it. There's some other things this utility can do, and if you need more information, just give me an email. You can shoot me an email at scott@infotracker.com. That's infotracker with 2 K's and no C.